What you're about to hear will make you think twice about every late-night road trip you've ever taken. Welcome back to Whisper Horror. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment telling us where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you more stories like this one. Now, let's begin. Trucker Horror Story Number 1, Convoy of the Dead. Do you believe in ghost convoys? Driverless trucks, quietly tailing you through a snowy midnight? A knock on your cab at 3 a.m. on a deserted highway might just be an invitation to the afterlife. Some drivers never leave their route because they've been dead for decades. Danny Rodriguez was a seasoned trucker with over 15 years of experience crossing America. He had faced snowstorms, road accidents, even highway robbers. But he had never known fear until one winter night in 2019 on Interstate 80 in Wyoming. The temperature was down to 23 degrees Fahrenheit. Snow flurries drifted across the dark road. Wind howled through every steel seam of his rig as he hauled electronics from California to Chicago. Danny cruised slowly, about 50 miles per hour. And then he noticed 3 other trucks following him. They didn't pass. They didn't fall behind. They kept the exact same distance. A quarter mile. No matter how he adjusted his speed. He called them on the CB radio. Only silence. And then strange whispers, echoing like they came from a distant void. He checked his mirrors again. 3 old trucks. Models from the 1980s. No taillights. Only piercing white headlights, like hollow eyes staring through the dark. No license plates. When Danny pulled into a lonely rest stop, the trucks followed. But they didn't park nearby. They stayed at the far end of the lot. Engines running. Headlights shining straight into his cab. Inside, motionless shadows. Men just sitting there. Silent. Staring. The restroom was locked. The building had no lights. Only a crumpled note taped to the door. Closed for service. Danny didn't stay. He pulled out. The trucks followed, as if they had never stopped. Down a long slope. Danny's engine began to overheat. The smell of burning coolant filled the cabin. Then, the truck died. The ghost truck sped past. No drivers. No one at the wheel. In his mirror, Danny saw empty cabs on the back of one trailer, barely visible in the snow. Westbound Freight Company. Westbound Freight was a company that shut down after 3 drivers vanished in 1987. On this very stretch of I-80, in the middle of a snowstorm, their trucks were found, still idling, heaters blasting full, but inside, cold as a freezer, and not a soul in sight. As Danny tried to call for help, the radio came to life. 3 men were talking about the weather, about an old Cheyenne stop that had been torn down years ago, about roadwork that Danny knew had finished 15 years back. Then one voice said, "There's a trucker broken down at mile marker 285. Should we go back?" Another replied, "Leave him. He'll join soon enough." The third laughed. A dry, rattling sound, like wind blowing through a graveyard. Danny looked in his mirror again. The trucks were coming back. In reverse. Speeding backward. Straight at him. The first one skidded to a halt behind his rig. Then, 3 knocks. Slow. Heavy. "Trouble there, buddy? Hop in. We'll give you a ride." That voice had no breath. No life. It was like a corpse, speaking from the grave. Danny didn't open the door. He waited, shaking, until the familiar flash of red and blue lights appeared. A Wyoming State Patrol cruiser pulled in behind him. In the police lights, Danny saw them clearly. The trucks were rusted, rotting, tires flat, coated in thick frost, and completely empty. When Officer Mitchell approached, Danny pointed behind him, but the trucks were gone. Later, the officer said softly, "You're not the first to see them. Every winter, we get reports. Always around mile marker 285. Always in snow. Strange thing. Those 3 drivers went missing here. Back in the 80s. Their trucks were still running. Heaters on high. But the cabs, cold as ice. No bodies were ever found. Since that night, Danny has never taken I-80 in winter again. Instead, he drives the southern route, even if it adds 2 extra days. As he puts it, better 2 days late than joining the convoy of the dead forever. Danny may have escaped the nightmare on I-80, but fear never takes a rest for truckers. One wrong turn, and you might end up somewhere off the map, where the past refuses to stay buried. Trucker horror story number 2, the lost town of Millfield. Have you ever found yourself lost on a road that doesn't exist on any map, but still has houses and people? A town erased from history by disaster. Yet its residents never left. You knock, hoping for help. But what greets you isn't human. It's a memory. Poisoned. Alive again. Lisa Patterson was a seasoned trucker. She could drive across the country without GPS. That humid August night in 2021. She was heading from North Carolina to Texas on the familiar I-40 route. Then came the detour. A chemical spill had shut the highway. A small sign led her down a side road and away from reality. At first, Lisa wasn't worried. She'd taken this route 2 years earlier. But slowly, something felt off. Her GPS lost signal. Her CB radio fizzed with static. She passed nameless intersections. The trees were thick, wild, trying to swallow the moonlight. Each house she passed had lights on, TVs glowing inside. But when she knocked, no answer. She heard whispers inside. And in every front yard, children's toys, covered in dust, rotting, still placed as if the kids had just walked away. Lisa tried to turn back, but she was looping. She saw the same cow-shaped mailbox 3 times. The 4th time, she knew. She was trapped in an invisible maze. At 2 a.m., a woman appeared in the middle of the road, wearing a white nightgown, stained with blood, motionless, staring into Lisa's headlights. Lisa threw the truck in reverse. Behind her, 6 more figures. Same nightgowns. Same hollow, hungry eyes. Her engine overheated. Steam hissed from the hood. A burnt smell filled the cab. The things outside moved closer. Slowly. Not human. Their eyes were pitch black, teeth like sharks, skin pale and sagging, like melted wax. Lisa screamed, floored the gas, charged at the woman ahead. She vanished like smoke. The others dissolved too. Gone. As if they never existed. The truck roared back to life. Lisa drove like a madwoman for 20 minutes. Until she saw a sign. Highway 67. Street lights. Cars. Voices. Like she had passed through a veil between worlds. At the first stop, she called Arkansas State Police. The dispatcher wasn't surprised. "You're the 7th one this year," he said. "People report figures in nightgowns out there. But no road shows up on any map." Back home, Lisa started digging. The place used to be Millfield. A town wiped off the records after a chemical plant explosion in 1973. Over 200 residents died in their sleep. They were never buried. Their bodies too changed to identify. 3 weeks later, Lisa got a package. No return address. Inside, a doll. Wearing a nightgown. Just like the one she saw that night. The fabric was stained reddish-brown. Attached was a note. "Thank you for visiting Millfield. We hope you'll come again. We're always looking for new residents." Since then, every month, Lisa receives a new doll. Even after moving. Twice. Postmarked, from a post office. That shut down in 1978. She shared her story on a truckers' forum. And learned. She's not alone. Some towns have died. But never truly disappeared. Lisa thought she had left Millfield behind, but the whispers still follow her at night. And not all spirits need to show themselves. Sometimes, they just talk through the radio. Trucker horror story number 3, The Voice on Channel 19. Have you ever gotten a warning from someone who's already dead, but it saved your life? When the CB radio picks up signals from the other side. Would you dare to listen? Some ghosts don't scream. They whisper, over the radio waves, to protect the living. Marcus Thompson had stuck with his Cobra 29 CB radio for 12 years, his silent companion on lonely trips across deserts, over mountains, through state after state. But on a March night in 2020, that very radio would lead him into another world. Marcus was hauling auto parts from Detroit to Phoenix, driving the quiet stretch of I-40 in New Mexico. It was 11 p.m. Not a single vehicle in sight. Suddenly, the CB crackled to life, with an unusually clear voice. "Eastbound driver in the white Peterbilt, this is your shadow. You've got a problem with your left rear trailer tire. Better pull over and check it before you have a blowout." Marcus looked around. No trucks ahead. No headlights behind. The road was empty. But the voice knew the exact color of his rig. Knew the precise tire in danger. He pulled over, checked, and was stunned. The left rear tire was swelling, ready to burst. He tightened bolts. Replaced the tire. As he worked, the voice returned. "Watch that third lug nut from the top, still loose. There's a speed trap 15 miles ahead. Keep it under 70. Every warning was right. But then, the voice asked something that sent chills down Marcus's spine. "How's Sarah, your daughter, doing in nursing school?" Marcus had never mentioned his daughter on any CB channel. Then came another warning. That chest pain you've been ignoring? It's not just stress. Go get it checked. It's progressing. His hands trembled. He gripped the mic and asked, "Shadow, who are you? How do you know all this?" There was a long pause. Then the reply came, slow and calm. "I was Knight Rider. Died 6 years ago, right on this road. Tire blew at marker 127. Went off the ditch. My wife placed a white cross there. As Marcus drove past mile marker 127, he saw it. A white wooden cross. A faded bouquet of plastic flowers. He pulled over. Walked up to it. His heart stopped. On the plaque, Thomas Knight Rider Williams, 1962 to 2014. Husband. Father. Keep the shiny side up. Marcus keyed the CB one last time. "Knight Rider, you still there?" The wind whispered back. "I'm always here, Marcus. This road, it holds some of us. I couldn't save myself. But I can save others. Get that checkup. Your daughter needs her dad around." 3 days later, back home, Marcus saw a doctor. He was diagnosed with severe heart disease, weeks from a potential stroke. He looked up Thomas Williams. Everything checked out. He had driven the Detroit-Phoenix route. He had died at marker 127. His wife had been a nurse. And the day Marcus got that warning, it was Knight Rider's 6th death anniversary. Since then, every July 1st, truckers passing marker 127 say they hear a voice, warning them, guiding them. Not all ghosts are out to haunt. Some still ride. And sometimes they become silent heroes, guarding the roads they never truly left. Marcus was saved by a kind spirit. But not every driver is that lucky. Out on a snowy northern road, what waits for you may wear a human face and be far from human. Trucker horror story number 4, The Hitchhiker in the Blizzard. A young woman stands alone in a snowstorm. No coat. No thumb raised. She's just standing there, waiting for you to stop. You open the door out of compassion, but what steps inside isn't human. When evil doesn't knock, it waits in silence, in the blizzard, for your invitation. Angela Rivera had driven through hundreds of winter storms, and never once broke her rule: never pick up strangers. But on a January night in 2022, on Highway 2 in North Dakota, that rule was put to the test. The storm hit without warning. Wind howled sideways. Snow swallowed her view. Angela slowed to 30 miles per hour, gripping the wheel as her rig rocked in the wind. And then she saw her, a young woman. Blonde hair. Thin jeans. A light jacket. Standing by the roadside. No motion. No signal. Just standing. Angela drove past, but couldn't shake the image. It was -4 degrees Fahrenheit. That wind could flay skin. No one could survive long out there. She stopped a few dozen yards ahead, hesitated, then reversed. The girl said her name was Jennifer. Her car had slid into a ditch behind them. Her voice trembled. Lips blue. But her eyes weren't quite afraid. There was something else there, something, watching. Angela opened the door. Jennifer climbed in. A wave of cold air rushed in, the kind that seeps from a crypt. The cab filled with the smell of long-dead flowers. Sweet and rotting. Jennifer thanked her. Smiled. Perfect white teeth. But the smile was hollow. She couldn't recall exactly where she came from, or how long she'd been walking. When Angela mentioned stopping at the way station ahead, Jennifer changed. Her hand, ice cold, clamped onto the steering wheel. "They're waiting there," she whispered. "They'll take the truck, and they'll take you." Angela checked the mirror. A black truck was following. No plates. If she slowed, it slowed. If she sped up, it held the distance. Jennifer began to panic, whispering faster. "They're here. Don't stop. You can't stop. You can't." That's when Angela noticed Jennifer wasn't breathing. No mist on the window near her mouth. No fog. Nothing. "You're not human," Angela murmured. Jennifer smiled. A grin stretching ear to ear. Eyes black as tar. Her voice dropped, scraping like metal. "You're clever. But not fast enough." Then she explained. For the past 3 winters, she'd been bait, standing in the storm, catching kind souls. And they followed. Always just behind. Waiting. Some truckers made it. Most never reached the next stop. Angela stayed calm. Drove straight toward a lit-up rest area. Jennifer screamed. "Don't go in. You won't escape." But she couldn't touch the door. It was like something held her back inside the cab. Or maybe inside public places. Angela hit the brakes. Slammed the horn. Other truckers ran out. She shouted, "She's not human." Jennifer shrieked, a sound so sharp it shattered the right window. And then, she vanished. No running. No fading. Just gone. Like she was never there. Security footage showed Angela arriving alone. But there were frozen bloodstains. An impression on the passenger seat. Police later found Jennifer Walsh's car in a ditch, from the previous year. She had frozen to death. Wearing the same thin jacket. Angela became the 4th driver to report picking up Jennifer on Highway 2 during winter. 2 others had spoken up. 2 more disappeared. Their trucks found empty. Since then, truckers call it Snow Ghost Highway. And every winter, when the storms return, Jennifer stands by the roadside once more. No cries for help. No pleading. Just waiting for someone to invite her in. Angela survived by staying calm. But some halls won't give you that chance. Because sometimes, the real danger isn't outside, it's right behind you. Trucker horror story number 5, the container. Are you sure you know what's inside the container hitched to your rig? Not every load is cargo. Some carry whispers from the void. When blood starts to drip from a locked container, what will you do? Carl Matthews was a trusted trucker. Always chosen for high-value loads. But his final run began at a warehouse on the outskirts of Memphis, a place that didn't exist on any map. The cargo was a single 20-foot container. But it wasn't normal. It had reinforced steel walls, An electronic lock. A heart rate monitor. Motion sensors. A temperature control unit. "Do not open under any circumstances," said the man in the black suit. His eyes cold as steel. "Drive straight to Colorado. No stops." 50 miles later, Carl opened the instruction envelope. Inside, just one sentence: "Do not speak to anyone about the container." The first 4 hours were uneventful. Until night fell. Then, Carl started hearing noises from the back. Scraping. Clawing. Metal on metal sounds. Like someone, or something, trapped. He told himself it was just the load shifting. Or maybe rats. But when he stopped for gas in Kansas, he saw something under the container. Dark liquid. Dripping, one drop at a time. Pooling on the asphalt. The smell, sharp. Metallic. Like blood. Carl called the emergency number in the envelope. No one answered. He kept driving. The sounds got louder. The vibration sensor reported a 200-pound object moving. But the container was still sealed tight. Carl stopped at a Colorado rest stop. As his headlights lit the side of the container, he saw handprints. Pressed from the inside. Fresh. Damp. Human. Then came a voice. Weak. Desperate. "Please, help us, 3 of us are alive, the others, they're already dead." Carl froze. He grabbed the CB. Called the police. When they arrived and opened the container, they found no one. But there were 3 cots. Clothing. Personal items. Signs of recent life. And the medical monitor still showed 3 active heartbeats. 3 functioning brains. The company that hired Carl vanished. The container's ID was fake. The warehouse, gone. Just an empty lot. Carl was cleared of wrongdoing. But he never drove again. 6 months later, he got a package. Inside, a USB stick. Containing footage. From inside the container. 3 people, 2 men, 1 woman, looking into the camera. Begging. Calling Carl by name. The timestamp matched the exact moment he was driving the supposedly empty container. No one knows who they were. Or how they disappeared. The FBI believes it's more than just trafficking. Something beyond human understanding. As for Carl, he still can't sleep. Because sometimes, around midnight, his old CB radio crackles to life. A whisper. "Carl, one of us still hasn't made it out, will you help?" When you've seen what's hidden inside a sealed container, you might think you've touched the bottom of true horror. But a truck driver's journey never ends with just one shipment. Some fears are waiting for you. Right on the road. Lurking, in seemingly familiar rest stops. Places not marked on any map. A modern rest stop. Bright lights. Surprisingly cheap. But it doesn't exist on any map. You leave the station with a strange device attached to your car, without even realizing it. Once you step into big gyms, it seems, you no longer have the right to leave. Rebecca Santos is a seasoned truck driver. She's slept at every rest stop from California to New York. But when she pulled into Big Jim's 24-hour plaza at 2:30 a.m. on Interstate 70, Missouri, she entered a place no other driver ever talked about, and no one could verify. The signage was blindingly bright. The lot was spacious. The convenience store was spotless and stocked. The diner was still serving hot food, even at that hour. The gas price was shockingly low, 40 cents below the national average. "We like to build loyalty," the window washer said with a smile. "Once you stop by Big Jim's, you always come back." Rebecca walked inside, grabbed some coffee, picked up a few snacks. But the place was too quiet. Drivers sat scattered around. No one talking. No one making eye contact. As if they weren't fully aware anymore. The cashier, a middle-aged woman with a syrupy sweet voice, asked, "Would you like to spend the night, hon? The sleeping rooms here are real comfy. Everyone who sleeps at Big Jim's never wants to leave." Rebecca politely declined. But when she got back in her truck and turned the key, the engine wouldn't start. All the electrical systems were working. Only the engine was dead. She went back inside and was told to speak with Big Jim, an older, heavy-set man with a friendly smile, but empty eyes. "I'll take a look," he said quietly, then silently worked under the hood. 15 minutes later, the engine came back to life. "No charge," he said. "Just remember to come back sometime." But just before pulling out, Rebecca noticed something under the hood. A small, unfamiliar device wired into the engine, identical to the ones on every other truck in the lot. Some kind of remote control unit? She quickly yanked it out and tossed it into a dumpster. But as she drove away and checked the rearview mirror, she saw 3 trucks pulling out right behind her. Perfect spacing. Tracking her, like predators. She accelerated. They accelerated. She veered off onto a side road. They followed. It wasn't until she reached a real rest stop, crowded, with local police present, that the convoy vanished. The officers investigated the location she described. When they got there, they found nothing but cracked concrete and overgrown weeds. The station had been torn down 20 years ago. Its former owner, James "Big Jim" Morrison, died in a fiery wreck in 1999. His brakes failed on a bridge. His truck exploded on impact. At the time, he'd been testing a new brake control system, nearly identical to what Rebecca had found. Rebecca wasn't the first. Over the past 15 years, at least 8 drivers have reported a mysterious Big Jim's in the middle of the night, all claiming a strange device was attached to their trucks. 3 of them vanished without a trace. Their rigs were found hundreds of miles from where they were last seen. No one knows where they went. 6 months later, Rebecca received a postcard. On the front, a glowing photo of Big Jim's plaza, bright, spotless, inviting. On the back, a crude handwritten message. "We miss you. Your room's still waiting. Come home." The postmark was from Missouri, but the national mail system confirmed that postcard had never passed through any official processing. And from that day on, every time Rebecca drove through Missouri, her GPS would automatically recommend a detour to Big Jim's 24-hour plaza. A place that no longer exists. The story of Big Jim's is a stark reminder that not everything on the road is what it seems. There are places you should avoid. But what's even more terrifying is, sometimes, you don't drive into a haunting. The haunting finds you, hidden inside an object. A shipment you're forced to carry. It's in your trailer, traveling hundreds of miles with you. And it won't stop calling your name. An old wooden armoire. But inside, it holds more than air. Would you dare to transport something that whispers your name in the middle of the night? Some antiques aren't meant to be kept. And they can't be destroyed either. They find new owners. James Mitchell was a seasoned transporter of priceless antiques. Paintings, royal chairs, 18th century furniture. But the shipment he picked up in November 2020 from Savannah, Georgia, ended his career for good. The client was Harrison Blackwood, a pale old man living in a crumbling, Gothic mansion buried deep in the woods. The shipment included several antique furniture pieces. But Blackwood gave specific instructions about a 2.5-meter armoire. Family heirloom, he said. The armoire was sealed with an ancient lock, etched with carvings of angels and demons intertwined. Do not open it. It's dangerous. Blackwood warned, then signed the delivery papers. From the moment James moved the armoire out of the house, he felt the air around it turn cold. It was noon in Georgia, but his arms were covered in goosebumps. The truck headed northwest toward Portland. But after nightfall, James began to hear creaking wood. At first, he thought it was just a bumpy road. Then came the whispers. Fragmented voices. Pleading, from inside the crate. At a rest stop in Arkansas, James checked the straps and froze. The armoire had unlocked itself. Inside, pitch black. But the space felt deeper. Far larger than its physical dimensions. Like a narrow hallway stretching into darkness. Suddenly, a woman's scream echoed from within. James slammed the doors shut. The sound stopped instantly. He called Blackwood's emergency contact. No answer. He called the delivery company. They said no one by that name had ever shipped anything. As he prepared to drive again, a girl's voice came from the back of the trailer. James, open the door. We've been trapped in here for so long. He turned around. No one there. But in the mirror, the armoire was trembling. At another stop in Oklahoma, James contacted the police. They opened the trailer. All the other furniture had shifted, forming a perfect circle around the armoire, as if part of a ritual. The doors were slightly ajar. Inside were dozens of old personal items. Rings, photos, baby shoes, berets. All dating back to the 19th century. Authorities in Savannah later confirmed. The Blackwood mansion had been abandoned since 1987. No one named Harrison Blackwood was alive. The last known resident vanished along with his family. That armoire had been documented in at least 12 disappearances over the last 2 centuries. The armoire was ordered to be destroyed. During the burning, witnesses heard screams, then cries, then shrill, demonic laughter. The flames turned blue, flared high, then extinguished instantly. James quit the job. But 2 months later, He received a package with no return address. Inside, a small wooden figurine, carved in his likeness, made from the same wood as the armoire. Alongside it, a note. "Thank you for opening the way. The collection is growing, and we always need dedicated couriers." Ever since. Each fall, the CB radio in James's garage crackles to life, and a whisper returns. "James. One more delivery. Only you can carry it." They say once that armoire picks you, no road is long enough to outrun it. But what if the very road you're on is the trap? What if every turn, every mile marker, just leads you back to where you started, over and over, until time itself loses all meaning? That's the chilling reality for the truckers caught in the loop. You drive all night but never reach your destination, because you've already been there. What happens when time no longer moves forward? Some truckers just keep driving, because they've been trapped on their own route. Patricia Williams was one of the best. Not once in 16 years had she ever delivered late. Not even by an hour. But her run in March 2022, hauling classified medical equipment from Ohio to Nevada, became the last trip she'd ever control. The cargo was top secret, temperature sensitive. Delivery was strictly timed, 72 hours, cross-country, nearly non-stop. Patricia rolled out confidently. Fully equipped rig, pinpoint GPS, solid radio, and most importantly, a detailed paper map. But things started to go wrong in Kansas. The GPS suddenly lost signal. The digital clock blinked, then froze. And the road ahead felt like it would never end. The same mile marker kept reappearing. Mile 242. Then mile 242. Again, and again. She thought she was imagining it. But after 4 hours, the same spot came up again. Brighton Plains Gas and Grill. Same coffee sign, hot coffee, 99 cents. Same red-haired gas attendant. Vacant stare. Patricia pulled over. She asked him, "Haven't I passed through here already?" He smiled stiffly. "You're almost there. Just keep going." She tried. But every attempt to take an exit, change course, or turn off, always brought her back to the same place. Worse, her radio started picking up whispers. Not voices from a channel, but fragments, like they came from the future. "Don't keep driving. Time is breaking." Patricia was exhausted. She napped at a rest stop. But when she woke up, the clock still said 3:17 a.m. The sky was still black. The moon hadn't moved. Then, a knock on her window. Another trucker. Older. Gray beard. Wide, terrified eyes. "You're stuck too?" he asked. "I've been here 12 years. Drive all you want. The more you try to leave, the more you end up right back where you started." She asked what he tried. "I burned my rig. I walked for hours. But every time, I woke up in my seat. Engine running. Same road ahead." They agreed to drive together. 2 rigs, side by side. But 10 minutes later, his truck vanished from her mirrors. No tire marks. No trace. Patricia panicked. She tried calling out, no signal. She tried turning around. Immediately surrounded by fog. She was forced to return. Time had stopped. The clocks didn't move. The sun never rose. Finally, she did the only thing she could think of. Closed her eyes, pressed the gas pedal, and drove straight into the black void of the repeating road. When she woke up, Patricia was in a hospital in Nevada. She had made it. But it had taken 19 days. Not 3. Police found her rig parked outside the hospital gates. The medical equipment still intact. Temperature perfectly maintained. But the dashcam told a different story. The footage showed her truck driving through the same stretch of highway. Over and over. More than 150 times. Yet outside time had passed only 72 hours. And Patricia? She doesn't drive anymore. Because every night, even at home, she dreams of Brighton Plains. A gas station that doesn't exist, but always shows up, with the same red-haired attendant smiling. You came back. Good. The road's still long ahead. Being trapped in a loop of space and time is a terrifying fate. But at least you know your enemy, the road itself. What if the horror isn't a place, or an event, at all? What if it's a gaze? Lurking within the very device you installed to feel safe. A gaze that never blinks. And knows your name. The little girl in your dashcam is looking back at you. And she knows your name. Not every image caught on camera belongs to this world. You're not alone on the road. Because someone might be watching you through the very screen you installed to feel safe. Tony Walker was a careful driver. Always ran dual cameras, inside and outside, just to make sure everything was recorded. But that very system, the one meant to protect him, was how something found him. In July 2022, Tony was hauling cargo from Florida to Montana. He passed through a remote stretch in Alabama during a heavy rainstorm. He stopped at a small rest area to sleep for a few hours. As usual. Before bed, he checked the camera feeds. Everything seemed normal. Until he rewound the rear footage. In a few blurred, rain-streaked frames. A girl, about 10 years old, long dark hair. White dress, stood in the middle of the road. Staring straight into the lens. Then she vanished after 1 second. Tony thought he was seeing things. But when he replayed the clip slowly, she was still there. Her eyes wide, frozen. No movement. No blinking. No rain bouncing off her skin. Like she didn't quite belong. He zoomed in on her face. And flinched. There it was. A small smile. Deliberate. Almost knowing. Tony deleted the footage. But the next morning, when he checked again, the video was back in the drive. This time, it was a few seconds longer. The girl raised her hand and pointed at the camera. On the next stretch of road, strange things began to happen. The cameras would switch views by themselves. The monitor would flicker on in the middle of the night. And each time, the girl was closer. Frame by frame. One night, Tony woke up to the sound of his horn blaring in the cab. Even though no one had touched it. The dashcam screen lit up. The girl was standing at his window, face pressed against the glass, eyes pitch black, no whites. Tony jumped out of the cab. No one was there, but a small handprint still fogged the glass. He brought the truck in for a full system check. The technician frowned. "This is weird," he said. "This clip isn't in the system memory, but it keeps showing up every time we delete it." Tony stopped using the screens, but he couldn't stop the sound. Faint static, children whispering, soft giggles, and sometimes a girl's voice calling, "Tony." On the final night before delivery, Tony received an email. No sender address. Subject line, "Thanks for watching." The attachment was a photo. Tony sleeping in the cab, taken from inside the truck. Someone had been very, very close. Tony never drove long haul again. He sold every piece of camera gear he owned. But sometimes, when he turns on the TV, the screen flickers. And in the corner, just barely visible, are two black eyes. Her eyes. And this time, she's standing right behind him. The fear of being watched relentlessly is truly horrifying. You can't turn it off. You can't escape it. But at least, the watcher is outside the screen. Outside your truck. What's more terrifying than that? It's when you open the door yourself and invite the horror into your world. A single, seemingly harmless act of kindness can pull you into a curse you can never escape. You see someone waving for help on the side of the road, but when you turn back, he's already inside the truck. Not everyone who looks like they need saving actually wants to be saved. Some just need you to open the door. One wrong stop, and you become part of a ritual that never ends. Eddie Ramos wasn't the type to get involved with strangers. But that night, on Highway 191 between Utah and Arizona, he saw a man curled up in a ditch. Shirt torn, arm weakly raised. The weather was cold. Sand and wind whipped against the truck. Eddie pulled over, turned on the hazard lights, and stepped out. The man could barely move. His breath was faint. His eyes crusted with dried blood. "They robbed me, left me here, please," he whispered. Eddie couldn't walk away. He helped the man into the passenger seat. As the truck started rolling again, the man leaned back, eyes closed. "Thank you," he murmured. "They buried me under the ground. I dug my way out." Eddie shivered. "Who buried you?" The man didn't say. He didn't ask for anything else the whole ride. But something felt off. There was no smell. No sweat. No alcohol. No blood. Just the smell of damp earth. Like something freshly dug up. They stopped for fuel 60 miles later. Eddie went inside for a few minutes. When he returned, the man was gone. The doors were still locked. He asked the clerk. Nobody saw anyone get out. They just said, "Drivers dream a lot out here. We've heard this story before." Eddie checked his truck's camera system, and his stomach dropped. In the footage, the man never got in. No door opened. No entry. One frame, the passenger seat was empty. The next, he was just there. The more Eddie watched, the more disturbing it became. In a few frames, the man was staring directly into the camera. No blinking. No breathing. Just waiting. As if hoping someone would look back. Eddie called the police. They searched the truck. Nothing unusual. Except for a small cloth bag under the passenger seat. Inside was a piece of human skin, tattooed with the words, "Do not let him in." Police checked the local reports. 3 truckers had described a man waving from the roadside ditch. 2 had disappeared. 1 was found, alive, but catatonic. No name. Didn't recognize his own family. And Eddie? He stopped driving for a few months. But every night, just before dawn, the camera on his porch flickered on. Even though no one passed by. In one 3-second clip, a figure sat on the hood of his old rig. No clear face, but hands covered in wet soil. The figure didn't move, didn't blink, just sat there, waiting for Eddie to open the door. You've followed 10 stories, 10 journeys deep into the darkness. Every mile, every rest stop, every whisper on the airwaves, every gaze from a screen. They're all reminders that this world holds countless things beyond our understanding. Some horrors cannot be burned, cannot be forgotten, and cannot be locked away forever. And if you're still listening, right now, at this very moment, maybe you're caught in a loop too. Still driving, still not awake. What will you do when the road calls your name? Share which story haunted you the most, or what moment made you afraid to look in your rearview mirror. Tell us in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because out there, on roads not found on any map, in nights without a moon, there are still many deliveries waiting, and countless stories that will never end.